Welcome, everybody, to the Wake Up Call channel. One of the things I've been talking about over the last couple of years is the deliberate destruction and sabotaging of the United States of America and the current government structure. The New World Order can only function with all governments crumbling around us and then the phoenix rising from the ashes. There will be no more Supreme Court. There'll be no more infrastructure the way that we've all been taught and told that the infrastructure actually works. So what you're seeing is deliberate sabotage by conservatives and Democrats working together. Do not forget that. This whole thing doesn't work unless they're on board together. This whole sabotaging, this whole division, this whole both sides thinking that the system is unfair, the DOJ targeting conservatives, the Supreme Court targeting liberals, this is all done by design. And the people need to realize this. This is the most dangerous thing to them, is the people waking up to the left-right paradigm, waking up to the secret societies who control and run all forms of government around the world. The secret societies who are working together, who have already committed treason by working together and taking loyal oaths to each other and their secret societies to undermine the rule of law, which again, no longer applies. So this is the topic. This is the headline. This is what just occurred. If you haven't heard, the Supreme Court immunity ruling makes presidents more like kings. So all hail King Biden. So, of course, that's from the USA Today, and the mainstream media is talking about the dangers of Trump now, being above the law, right? That's one of the themes that we're hearing, is that Donald Trump is above the law. We've heard this over and over and over again from years and years and years of this nonsense that they're putting us through, right? Justice Sotomayor, the president is now a king above the law. This is a common theme, and there's a reason they keep telling you this type of stuff. Now, remember, the left and the right are feeling the same exact thing. They both are living in alternate realities where each side feels like they're being victimized and they're being targeted. The reality is that the government is doing this deliberately to all civilians. They're doing it to everyone. They're just doing it in different ways, right? We know that all free speech is being removed from conservatives, while Democrats feel like women's reproductive rights, all this other stuff is being taken away from them. This is gaslighting 101. Listen to the speech, if you haven't heard it yet, of Joe Biden. And keep in mind this all hail King Biden narrative that's out there, that's trending. Again, using humor right in the face of truth. This is what's really going on. Okay, they're telling you what's actually really already in place, that these people are not elected, that they're literally like kings and queens in power, that they're placed in these positions. They want you to think that the president is elected by the people. That is not true. Your vote does not count. As long as they keep you in this illusion, the people will never rise up against what has become the hijacking of the United States of America. If people realize that, then the people band together, then this whole operation is over. But what we're seeing is obviously dual communism, like I've talked about. The people are so loyal to the political party. Democrats will lay down in front of traffic for the party. They don't really care if the president comes across as completely incompetent, all these things that Biden's deliberately doing on camera to make it look like he's senile, that he's not fit for office. So let me start by playing the speech that Biden gave about America, about kings, and about the future and how scary it is.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. With today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed. For all practical purposes, today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle, and it's a dangerous precedent, because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. This decision today has continued the court's attack in recent years on a wide range of long-established legal principles in our nation, from gutting voting rights and civil rights, to taking away a woman's right to choose, to today's decision that undermines the rule of law of this nation. Nearly 4 years ago, my predecessor sent a violent mob to the U.S. Capitol to stop the peaceful transfer of power. We all saw it with our own eyes. We sat there and watched it happen that day. Attack on the police, the ransacking at the Capitol, a mob literally hunting down the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, gallows erected to hang the Vice President, Mike Pence. I think it's fair to say it's one of the darkest days in the history of America. Now the man who sent that mob to the U.S. Capitol is facing potential criminal conviction for what happened that day. And the American people deserve to have an answer in the courts before the upcoming election. The public has a right to know the answer about what happened on January 6th before they are asked to vote again this year. Now, because of today's decision, that is highly, highly unlikely. At the outset of our nation, it was the character of George Washington, our first president, to define the presidency. He believed power was limited, not absolute. And that power always resides with the people, always. Now, over 200 years later, with today's Supreme Court decision, once again, it will depend on the character of the men and women who hold that presidency that are going to define the limits of the power of the presidency, because the law will no longer do it. I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years, but any president, including Donald Trump, will now be free to ignore the law. I concur with Justice Sotomayor's dissent today. Here's what she said. She said, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote. So should the American people dissent. I dissent. May God bless you all, and may God help preserve our democracy.
You hear him talk about how it'll depend on the character of the men and women who are elected into power by us, the people, right? By us, the people, because they're planning on blaming us for the sabotage that's coming. Whatever way they decide to go, it will work. It doesn't matter. We could sit here and say, I think it's going to be, they're going to put Trump. It doesn't matter. They're nuking this country by design. And if they keep you in this psychological hypnosis that people are under, in watching this stuff as if it's real, getting so emotionally invested, it's insanity. It's utter insanity that people are buying this act, these two extremists, as if these are the people that these are the people that all of us want in power. Like we've elected, nobody's elected these people. They've been placed in these positions. And they make you think with all these fake polls that they show you, oh, the people are still, they're not happy, but they're still picking Biden and they're still picking Trump as the two people to run for power. Huh? Everybody's sick of what's going on. They want you to think that we're picking these people. And then when the election comes, which is fake, that we're responsible because we elected a tyrant or we elected a senile man. And either way, now it makes it way more believable that this country is going to be destroyed from 2025 moving forward. That's what the plan is, to bring America to its knees. And these are the two perfect people to do it. And this stops if people realize that this isn't real. Now, some of the other narratives I have to go into, including Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson, who needs to be covered. I've covered him before, the Jesuit Mike Johnson, playing the role of Christian conservative, obviously in bed with the synagogue of Satan. One of the other things is just this whole thing you're seeing with Steve Bannon, which deliberately is played out the way it is. Steve Bannon's a quote-unquote far-right extremist, Trump ally. He was quoted as saying, if he doesn't quit, they don't win. Everybody needs to listen to these narratives. If he doesn't quit, they don't win. They're putting this into your head that if Joe Biden doesn't step aside, the Democratic ticket will lose. The Democrats have no chance. They keep telling you this on purpose. The liberal media could easily spin that Joe Biden won the debate, that everything's fine with Joe Biden. They're even going, oh my gosh, Joe Biden should step aside. The narrative, just watch the pattern, right? What's the narrative in the liberal media? Joe's such a good guy, I'm a friend of his, I love him. I'm saying this with utmost respect. He probably should step aside. And Biden goes and meets with his family and they decide he's going to stay in the race. And the Democrats are going, we don't, now we're definitely going to lose. We can't lose. I mean, they're building this up so that it's so much so that everybody would not believe it. They pull the rug out from under them if they tell us that Joe Biden wins the election via the vote on November 5th. Right? They're pretty much going to everybody would be in shock. Nobody would believe it. And that's the point. That's the point. Because either way, whichever one they pick, the other side is going to think that this country is going to crumble, that this country is done, right? Instead of people going, hey, how about you prove to us that you're actually, voted into these positions in the first place, that you're winning your primaries? Nobody asked for any evidence to be seen of these people actually being elected. We just trust when the news tells us who won this state, who won that state, right? Think about that. You ever hear anybody, you know what I mean? If you were sitting around your house and you were like, let's do a vote, say you have a family of 6, and you're like, we want to vote on what we want to have for dinner tonight, right? Well, what would you do? Turn your computer on to see what the results are? Would everybody write something, put it into a cup? Everybody would pull them out and count each one. Oh, we're going to have chicken parm. Another vote for chicken parm. Oh, we got grilled cheese over here. Another for grilled cheese. Oh boy, another for chicken parm. What's the last one? Oh, it's chicken parm, 4-2. That's the vote. Yay, look, it's legit. Or would you just let the family of 6 in the house just go, all right, let's decide what everybody wants for dinner. Why doesn't everybody go on their computer and vote on a mysterious website? Or, we'll go to our neighbor and tell them who we think or what we think we want for dinner. And then the neighbor will come back and we'll trust what the neighbor tells us the overall vote was. And the neighbor's a vegan, so he's going to be against the chicken parm. It's unbelievable. There's no evidence that these people were even elected in the first place. We give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's where the problem lies. Now, like I said earlier in this video, think about this. Think about the words that Biden was saying. Okay, now a king can stay. They're above the law. This is what they want in your head, right? The Supreme Court siding with the Republicans, the Democrats in bed with the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, right? Taking away free speech. All this stuff they're doing is they're siding one with the other, right? One side looks at this, not fair enough. And everybody's going to come to the conclusion that this whole thing's messed up and we need to start over. We need to nuke the whole system. But the reality is that we need to remove all these people from power because they're not elected in the first place. The Supreme Court, get rid of them. These people are proving to you that they're not working for us. It's like a high school drama show, and everybody's engaged in it instead of going, whoa, you're working for us. If you don't work for us and do what you're supposed to do, then get out. Prices are way too high. People can't afford to live. You're giving our money to Ukraine. Bye. See you later. That's all. That's what should be happening. So they want you to never, ever think like that. And they want you to emotionally get involved in this charade that they're playing out. Now, I have to play for you this Mike Pence clip of him talking on Fox News, and watch the perspective of what they're trying to do to the conservatives out there. He talks about undermining the legal system. This is to nuke the legal system and the 25th Amendment. This is done strategically. The 25th Amendment, right? That, we should remove Biden. By removing Biden, then you'd be putting Kamala Harris in as president. But listen to some of these tidbits from this speech, even talking about how he spoke in private, and he didn't want to go on the record as saying, but Joe Biden's senile. He doesn't know what's going on. Does anybody realize that the job that these people have is to go on television and gaslight us? That's all they're doing, is they're actors. They're not working. They're not doing anything in Congress. They're just showing up on these TV shows every single night, from the news stations to the Colbert Show to Jimmy Fallon, and they're working the American people. It's literally like being in high school, and that's done by design because they know the people are so dumbed down that they'll get sucked into this without stepping back and going, I'm sorry, are you supposed to be doing a job for us on our tax money, right? And by the way, how do these people who work on, are supposed to be working for such a small amount of money, because even the president's supposed to make like $300,000 to $400,000, which is a lot of money. But in today's world, they wouldn't be, living in multiple homes and driving around, living the way that they live out in the open, and nobody questions that either. What do you think? They just invest money in the stock? The whole thing is an utter sham. Watch this utter charade on Fox News.
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, joins me now. Speaker Johnson, it's really a pleasure to have you. You just heard from President Biden, and he said the American people dissent, I dissent. What say you?
Kayleigh, what we're seeing tonight is despicable and it is dangerous. The president has been trying to undermine our legal system. First, they weaponized the Department of Justice to go after his chief political opponent, which, of course, is Donald Trump. And now, when it doesn't work the way they planned it, the way they designed it, when the law gets in the way of what they're trying to do, now he's trying to undermine the Supreme Court itself. It truly is an unprecedented moment in American history. And it's at a dangerous time. You know, President Biden showed the country that he is unfit to continue to serve in office. He does not have the capacity and the mental acuity to do it. And he's so desperate, now that everybody has seen that he's willing to turn on the system of justice itself. It's really a remarkable evening. Everything that we're watching is remarkable.
You know, Speaker Johnson, your Democratic counterpart, Hakeem Jeffries, had a really curious quote. He talked about the extreme far-right justices being brought into compliance. What does that mean?
I have no idea. Look, there's all sorts of hyperbole tonight and just this fantastical, these hypotheticals they've made up. Future presidents are going to turn into assassins and all the rest. It's madness. Listen, remember this. The president and the vice president are the only two offices in our constitutional system that are elected by all the people. No one who is elected to that office is going to be prone to this kind of crazy criminal activity. What the court is saying here follows common sense and, of course, our Constitution as well. You have to have the president with the ability to make difficult decisions hourly, daily, and not be worried about rogue prosecutors going after them at some point in the future. I mean, the president can't operate if he has that kind of sword of Damocles hanging over his head. And that's very simply what the court ruled today. It should have been 9-0. It was only 6-3, and the liberal justices are playing along with the charade. I really do think it's a scary thing for them to undermine the court itself.
Speaker Johnson, in the wake of the debate performance from President Biden Thursday, you made these comments on the Hill. Let's listen.
There's a lot of people asking about the 25th Amendment, invoking the 25th Amendment right now, because this is an alarming situation. As I mentioned, our adversaries see the weakness in this White House, as we all do. But, you know, unfortunately, it's not the House that gets to determine that. It's the cabinet under the Constitution, of course. It's the cabinet that makes that decision. I would ask the cabinet members to search their hearts. We hope that they will do their duty, as we all seek to do our duty, to do best by the American people. These are fateful moments.
Speaker Johnson, most of us haven't sat across from Joe Biden. You have sat across from the president. I'm curious if you've seen anything that's concerning, like what America saw on the debate stage.
I have, and I've tried to be judicious about this. I've not gone and done press conferences about private conversations because, frankly, Kayleigh, it's been very alarming to me. Now, some of these exchanges have been reported because other persons knew about our conversations, but I've been concerned about what our adversaries see. We need to make certain tonight one thing is clear. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, that they understand that the U.S. military is ready to act at any time. And regardless of the turmoil with regard to the president, America is strong. We will defend our interests, and you need not second guess that. But in the meantime, the reason we're talking about the 25th Amendment is because the fourth clause of the 25th Amendment has never been used. It is when the vice president and a majority of the cabinet members agree that the president is unfit and unable and incapable of continuing his duties. I think that's what we're watching here. Unless the president is reading off a teleprompter, I don't think he's capable of making these big decisions, and that is something that should alarm all of us, and it's something that we need to be talking about. I think people are privately murmuring about this, but I think desperate times call for desperate measures, and we may well be at that moment.
So, I mean, look at the narrative from both perspectives, right? Both sides are saying what? That the other side is completely corrupt, that they're weaponizing the government, and that's what the New World Order needs and wants, is to bring this thing down and divide us into two separate countries with two separate rules of law. That's how this is going to start, okay? Because conservatives are not going to go along with this. And the outcome of this election, it doesn't matter who they select. The people are going to be blamed for it. That's the point. That's why they emphasize so heavily about you going to vote, because you're going to be held accountable. Now, you could sit there, the people who are all, you know, and I get people who follow my channel, they get all butthurt about like, I'm still going to do my part. I'm still going to go vote. They don't want to get past that. They just don't want to get past it because it's been beaten into their heads since they were kids, that their vote counts, you know, that's the right thing to do, that you make the difference. But everything that they're saying right now about the president being above the law and being a king is the actual truth. And it's been that way for a while. This is nothing new, but they're bringing it out into the open now. They're bringing it out in the open because all of this roller coaster that you're seeing with the courts, the charade, with Donald Trump going to jail, we've never seen anything like it before because it's not real. It's psychological. And what they have planned with this fake election is going to be the demise of this country. And the blood is going to be on your hands. They're going to come out and blame the voters. And that's why Biden was emphasizing how you could save democracy. Hillary Clinton, all these people are out there posting, speaking about how it's on you, it's on you, it's on you, and it's not on you. What's on the people is that the people should be holding them accountable, and it's not via your vote. You never hear for them to give proof of the votes, right? You hear the stuff about the mail-in ballots, this being legal, why should illegals be able to vote, all that. But never an exact, this is something with the technology you have that every single person who wants to vote and goes and votes, or you can make it that every person has to vote. But the whole thing should be filmed on live television. It could take 6 months to do. Who cares? Who cares? And why do the only people that are allowed to run have to have millions and millions of dollars? I mean, the common citizen doesn't know you need like $1 million at this point. I think it was $500,000 at least 10 years ago. But you need to have pretty much $1 million to get on the ballot in every state. So you have to have at least $50 million plus to get on, just to get on the ballots, right? So you have to be a millionaire. And wouldn't the people say that's part of the problem, right? I love how like the liberals are all for communism and they're like, oh, we got to take down the rich. They think they're like, Peter Pan, or what is it, like Robin Hood. They're like, we got to go after the rich, right? And all the Democrats and all the Bezoses of the world, they're all Democrats. They're all libs. They're all commies. The last thing they want is for the people to realize that this is fake. And that's what it is. It's an experiment. We've heard about the American experiment. Guess who the experiment is on? It's on you. It's on me. It's psychological, okay? It's psychological. Look how these people are acting. You wouldn't even know who these Supreme Court justices were if they didn't. The whole thing is, it's literally like watching 90210 every single day. And they come on TV and they go, oh, I talked to the president in private. He's senile. Oh, this is going on here. Oh, he's a convict. He's a criminal. Then you watch the psychosis on the internet inside of the hive mind and how these people comment, how they feel, how upset they get about all this stuff, how butthurt they get about it. They don't even realize that none of this is real in the first place. None of these people are elected. They're working you. And now they're going to bring down the rest of the rights that they haven't already removed, which we know they've removed a lot of the rights already. They're working on the Second Amendment. We know they've removed the First Amendment. I'm living proof, and so are most of you, that they've removed that. The Second Amendment, they're already putting these red flag laws in. That's going to be the next thing. And little by little, all of this is going to be removed. And they're going to say, well, it wasn't working. And everyone's going to agree. And they're going to say it's because of the other it's because of Republican voters. Oh, it's because the Democrats voted for this senile man. And guess what? None of you voted for him. These people aren't really winning. They're putting these people in these positions for you to go and pretend to vote and then them to tell you the fake outcome of your fake vote so they could psychologically herd you, manipulate you, and make you do what they ultimately wanted you to do in the first place. I thank everybody for being here. The president is now a king above the law. What a surprise as they continue with the narrative of if Biden doesn't quit, the Democrats have no chance. They won't win. I keep hearing these people like, there's a 100% chance that I knew it. It's going to be Big Mike Obama. Oh, he's going to step aside. He's not stepping aside. That's the point of this that they're doing to you psychologically, telling you every day that he has no shot. He has no shot. Is for them to tell you on election day that he somehow won and people to get in an uproar over it. And for everything to change on that day, and that is what will happen. Conservatives will never believe it. The whole thing will be nuked. It's going to be nuked come November 5th by design. Everything you're seeing played out right now is staged. It's not real. It's all on your mind. They're creating a false reality on you, making you think that this stuff's going on. This fake circus of a trial, Biden walking around falling down. I've showed you all the clips of the presidents depicted in movies. He's playing the exact role that they've shown you with predictive programming over the years, from Hot Shots to Scary Movie with Leslie Nielsen, Can't Complete Sentences. He's doing that, right? And then the next day he's on stage and he's screaming and sounding competent, right? That's by design. Oh my gosh, does he have Alzheimer's? One day he's good, one day he's bad. Then they have the doctors come on CNN and talk about signs of, signs that he might have Alzheimer's are coming on. It's unbelievable. And the people believe this stuff. The news is manufactured. It creates a false perception of reality, period. The news isn't to inform, it's to control. And they're doing it pretty well right now because a lot of people are falling for this. And I can't even imagine what's coming on November 5th, what kind of false flags and psyops they have planned, but it's coming. I guarantee you. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.